Anything Combat with Johnny K.
But it's anything combat though.
Welcome back, combatants to the Anything Combat Show. I'm your host, Johnny K. Today we're joined by freestyle wrestler, take me down and win $1,000, Georgio Poullas. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to see you again. A lot has happened since we last talked here. It's been quite the journey, man. A lot of things been going on and making different things happen, as I'm sure you're watching. I remember the first time we did an interview was actually when I took down Bradley Martin. That was one of the first wrestling videos that I did. That was actually my first wrestling YouTube video that I made. So to see you again since then, I mean, so much has happened in my career, and I've just evolved as a person so much since then. It's kind of crazy. Just to be here again and be like, oh wow, like I remember you since day one. So it's great to see you.
Thanks, bro. A lot of these influencers, they never break out of doing the influencing. They make their viral videos and then they never go on to actually do something with their skills or develop. And with you, you've gone a completely different direction. You've developed completely and now you're back to competition. So can you tell me, what was it like wrestling in college? Where were you? And then when did you stop competing after in freestyle? And then now, how long did it take to come back to competing in these RAFs, these Real American Freestyle matches?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll start off. I started wrestling when I was in kindergarten, wrestled all the way through high school. When college came around, I wasn't sure if I was going to go to college. If I would have got to pick, I would have probably just started training straight for the UFC. That's what I felt like I should have done. But when you got full rides knocking at your door and you've wrestled your whole life, and you come from an old school family, it's not really an option. So me having the full ride opportunities, I took my first full ride to Cleveland State. I was freshman of the year there, and then I redshirted my sophomore year. And then I actually transferred to a school in New Jersey called Rider for half a semester. And then I dropped out. I moved back home. Had a great job working for my uncle, and I was coaching the high school team. My little brother was on the high school team. So since I dropped out of college, I hadn't practiced or competed until honestly like a month and a half ago when I wrestled out my first RAF. I started training a month before that. So, I would go out and I would do my videos and make my wrestling videos, but I wouldn't be practicing, I wouldn't be wrestling. I was always very active when I moved out here. I was a fitness influencer first and I fell in love with fitness. When I say I'm not training, I mean specifically like to wrestling. I'm always doing something, whether it's taekwondo or going on hikes or hitting the gym. I'm a very active person, but I haven't trained full time like I am doing now in the past, I'd say 4.5, 5 years. Um, it feels great to be back. I feel like it gave me a little more purpose and direction in my life. I knew wrestling was always going to be what I was meant to do. At the time when I dropped out, I felt like I needed a little bit of a break. The way I like live my life is if I'm not happy doing something in the moment, then I don't do it. I do whatever I want to do. I'm like a chameleon. I'm constantly changing. Like I said, I went to fitness and I love that, and then I started to miss wrestling, and that's how this whole $1,000 take me down came about. And I knew once I started that it was going to open up doors and that eventually something like this would happen. I didn't know exactly what it was. RAF wasn't there yet, but I knew that something was going to happen. And it just so happened to be RAF came along, and before they came along, I was actually starting my own Take Me Down league. I was working on my own sport, so it was essentially takedown. So what it was going to be is 3 1-minute rounds. First takedown wins the round, so that way it forces action. What I was going to do is get UFC fighters involved, different influencers. I was going to get like NFL players versus NFL players. I was going to make it this massive thing, and it was taking a lot of time to develop. And it's still there right now. It's on the back burner because I am part of RAF now. But yeah, I was working on something very cool that's still in the making. But yeah, no, to go back to your question, yeah, I haven't trained full time in about 4.5, 5 years up until recently, these past couple months.
So, how did you get introduced to RAF? And can you tell me a little bit about working with the guys there? And what do you think that's doing for the sport of wrestling right now and the industry?
Yeah, so the way that I got introduced to RAF, they hit me up a while back before they did their first RAF event, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't come to terms to make it happen. And I think they've seen with what I'm doing, the way that I'm promoting the sport of wrestling is different than anybody else has really ever done. And not many people are giving the sport the kind of exposure that I am. Not only am I a wrestler, but I'm an influencer, and I'm around all these big influencers in LA. So really, I'm bringing the sport to people outside of wrestling that have never really heard or seen about wrestling at such a high level, because these guys have big followers. These guys are big influencers, and I think I'm really the first person to kind of show in the street that size really doesn't matter. And I think a lot of people are scared to do something like that, but I think I really made an example out of that for everybody on the internet. I'm not afraid to wrestle a 300-pound, 7-foot person. I'll do it with anyone and anyone that wants to do it. And that's just who I am. And as far as the RAF guys go, it's been great to work with them. I really like Chad as an individual. I think he probably thinks the same as me, likewise, and they're doing a great job at promoting and creating these absolutely phenomenal matches that you would never get anywhere else, except something like on my channel, per se. But now you have RAF to help me do everything that I was gonna do and was doing at another level and get paid for it 10 times. I think rap is great. I love what they're doing for the sport of wrestling. I think they're making the right moves, and I'm excited to continue to help it grow.
Giorgio, was the backstage brawl with Mugsy real or was that fake?
Yeah, so about that, it actually wasn't fake. So the only fake part about it was like the words we exchanged before. And what was supposed to happen is it was supposed to be just like a little push, little shove. It was supposed to be fake. But Muggsy caught me off guard. He was super smart to do this, man, because it was being live streamed on Fox Nation. And so I wasn't even thinking of this, but of course he was. In his head. He's like, "Oh, this is my opportunity to take him down." So when that happened, I realized very quickly, oh, he's actually trying to take me down, and I picked up on that very quickly. And obviously, I didn't let that happen. But smart move on his part, because he did try and slick me. So that whole ordeal, that was real. That was real.
What do you think Mugsy did well in the match, and what do you think that he didn't do so well in his wrestling game against you?
Well, to be quite frank, it was a pretty quick match. I was very confident in my skills. And what he did well, I'll say this. After I took him down and rolled him a couple times, he came up to me and he pushed me. And I think in his head, he was thinking of that for the views, marketing. And I love that. I love the fact that he came up and pushed me, because that got a lot of views. That's the highest viewed video on RAF. And me knowing Muggsy, I'm thinking, I don't think that's real. I think that's marketing. So I love the fact that he did well. He's a great marketer. He's always thinking outside the box, and I think that was great. As far as the wrestling goes, I didn't really give him a chance to do anything well. Excuse me. I didn't. As far as the wrestling goes, I didn't really give him a chance to do anything well. Because I was just on my game, and I took it to him pretty fast. I scored all my moves, and before you knew it, the match was over. And Muggsy's a great guy. I like Muggsy as an individual. I like Muggsy as a person. Um, as a wrestler, I think I proved that there are levels to this. And there was a gap between my skills and his skills in that match, and I think that showed.
Going back to RAF and their introduction into the sport of wrestling, you know how everybody really wants that NCAA, title and going through the divisions in college, and that's kind of the setup for wrestling, and then you go to the Olympics, right? So do you feel like now that RAF has kind of disrupted the industry, do you feel like people are going to want to go down that avenue compared to the avenues that already existed? Do you feel like people are going to care more about RAF and then their titles and their rankings in that promotion?
Well, there's a difference between an NCAA title and winning a RAF belt. What RAF has allowed is essentially, if you look at it, it's like the NFL, but for wrestling. RAF is now the pro league of wrestling, whereas before there was never an outlet for wrestlers. It was always the wrestlers. You could go into the UFC, but you couldn't really wrestle after college, unless you're going for the Olympics or whatnot. But now that RAF is a thing, I would say so. It's like your D1 football program, in Ohio State. What athletes are going to go into the NFL? And that's what RAF is. RAF is the NFL of wrestling. And so you have these national champions, and you have these NCAA wrestlers that are placing at the D1 level, but more than half of them still can't get into RAF wrestling. Now, to most people, I can't answer this question. What means more to somebody? An NCAA champion, a D1 NCAA champion, or having a RAF belt? I can't answer that for those people, but I like to think that, they're pretty comparable. You got the best wrestlers in the world in RAF, but not only that, college they're all USA, right? RAF, it's not just USA. They're bringing people in from everywhere. They're bringing world champions from all over the place. It really is the professional real league of wrestling. That's what it is.
Why did you go from, taking so much time off to then go and compete against Mugsy and then take this new match up against Arman Tsarukyan, which people would think is such a big jump in competition after being out for so long. You wrestled against Mugsy and you were confident that you were gonna beat him, and you had a really dominant performance. Now Armin is looking on fire. He smashed Lance Palmer, which nobody thought he was going to do. Specifically, how he did it too, and all the grappling matches. He's in his prime. He's been competing. He's been the most busy fighter out of anyone online. Let's be serious. He's competed in jiu-jitsu, MMA, modified rules, wrestling, and he's won everything. He hasn't lost anything. So you come in and you choose to have this massive jump up in competition. So why do you think that now's the time to take on such a tough opponent?
Well, let me start with this. Armin is a fighter. He did have a great performance against Lance Palmer, but let's not forget Lance Palmer hasn't competed since what, college, and he's 39 years old now. I'm 27, and now you're taking Arman out of his sport and you're putting him into mine. This is what I do. This is my sport. This is what I've done since I was 4 years old. But I think going from Mugsy to Arman is definitely a huge difference. But I am just as confident as I was with Mugsy versus Arman. I know that there are levels to this, and I know that Arman is a much better wrestler than Mugsy is. But I wouldn't have taken this match if I didn't think I could win. I think it will be a good match, but I think I'll come out on top. I believe in myself. I believe in my abilities. I think the way my style matches up with his is very great. But I took this because I feel like it's an opportunity sent from God. You know, I've been praying to have a big moment. I've been praying to God to give help guide me through my life journey and path every day. And I think that this was an opportunity sent from God. And I think if I didn't take this opportunity, I may not get it again. And I'm preparing for it. I'm ready for it. And you know, one thing about me, whether my fans agree or disagree, a lot of people think that, you know, I'm selective about my opponents. But I've always said that I will do it with anyone and anyone that wants to try. And I think this gives me an opportunity to really showcase my skills. Because, like you said, Arman's one of the best fighters in the world. He's on a hot streak. Nobody wants to fight the guy. Nobody wants to wrestle the guy. But then you got a guy like me who's going to jump on that opportunity right away. Now, when I beat Arman, what are people going to say? Are they going to say, I'm a YouTuber, I'm an influencer? Or are they going to say, oh shit, this guy's the real deal? This guy just proved to the entire world that he does this, you know? And I don't have anything to prove to people. I know where I'm at, and that's all I need to know. But I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm all about it. You know, I think it's going to be a great match. You know, he's a hell of a wrestler, and so am I. It's what I've done my whole life. I'm excited for it. It's a blessing, and like I said, it's an opportunity sent from God, and I'm going to take advantage of it, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to wrestle my best match. I'm going to do everything I can, and I think that, you know, at the end of the day, the best man's going to win. But I believe 100% that I am that guy.
Giorgio, you mentioned how, you know, Lance Palmer was older when he took on Arman. Although there was a big age discrepancy, why do you think Arman Tsarukyan had a style that could beat something like Lance Palmer, seeing that Arman didn't go through, you know, the USA? He's got that Caucasus wrestling, you know, from Armenia and Russia. So what did you see during that match? What was your reaction about specifically the styles of Caucasus wrestling compared to the American wrestling?
Yeah, well, I mean, first off, Armin's a great grappler. He's one of the best in the world. He's very elite. But what I noticed in that match is Lance didn't really get to his positions where he wants to score. I mean, Armin's got a great front headlock, and Armin got to his front headlock. And when you let a grappler at that level lock his hands around your head, I mean, you've seen what's going to happen. You're going to get tossed. He's going to throw you. And that's exactly what happened. Arman got to his positions. He got his hands locked. And once he gets his hands locked, a guy that's good at grappling, he's going to score points. You know, I think Lance, I watched the match. There's a couple things I would have done differently than Lance. And, you know, I think with my style versus Arman, I don't plan on letting him get to his front head. I know if he gets to his front head, I'm in trouble. So I know not to let him get there. That's in his jiu-jitsu matches. That's one of his moves, his front head over like that. You know, he locks that tight. You know, I'm no fool. I know what he's going to try and do. And he probably knows what I'm going to try and do. But I'm going to wrestle my match. He's going to try and wrestle his match. And the best man's going to win. I think Lance, you know, I love the guy. Lance is a legend in the wrestling community. He's an Ohio guy. I think a lot of people were very shocked by that match. I don't think Lance performed well. He didn't get to his moves. I mean, he didn't do anything, to be honest. He really didn't. He didn't look good at all. And then when Armin rolled him, I mean, Lance was up in the air. That's easy to roll. Like, I don't know if Lance didn't wrestle freestyle or what his experience was with that. But I was not impressed with Lance's performance.
So now, you know, you were a spectator, you got to see how Lance performed, and now you're up and, you know, you have something to prove. So what message do you think you have for everybody and Arman?
Well, you know, I don't really feel like I have anything to prove. I think that it's just a great opportunity. I could say, oh, I have something to prove to the people, but I have nothing to prove to myself. I know what I'm capable of. I know how good I am. I know where my skills are at. And to backtrack real quick, no disrespect to Lance. I love Lance. He's a great guy, great person. The match just didn't go his way. I'm more locked in than I've been in a long time. RAF really gave me purpose in my life again to start training full time, and I haven't been this dedicated and serious about the sport of wrestling in a long time. So I'm super grateful to have the opportunity to train full time and really work towards something. One thing I'll say about Arman is, he's going on this huge PR run. I mean, I don't know if the guy's even training. He's traveling here, he's traveling there, he's doing this and that. You know, he may just be overlooking me. I don't know if he's training or not. But what I will say is that I am training and I'm working my ass off, and I'm more motivated right now than maybe I've ever been. I'm more disciplined right now than maybe I've ever been. And that is dangerous. When I'm locked in, I'm a dangerous character. So I feel great. I feel real good. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know where his head's at, but I know what I'm doing and I know where my head's at. And, I'm going to show the world that.
You spoke about Lance Palmer and how he matched up against Arman. What do you think, with all your experience in college wrestling and your style, how do you think your style compares to Arman's? Can you just give me a little bit of insight into what your style kind of represents and how you developed that in college as well?
Yeah, I mean, my style, I go out there and I get to it, man. I don't waste no time. I get to where I want to be. I get to where I know I'm good. I get to where I can score. And if a guy's giving me trouble of getting there, I find a different way to get there. But it's not like I got one move. I got not a thousand different moves, but I got moves from everywhere. If you're not letting me get something, I'm gonna do something else, and then I'm gonna go back to that and get what I was trying to get. I'm gonna move the guy and get the guy in the positions where I feel comfortable, where I'm gonna score. And there's no secret to my style. I mean, you can go and watch all my videos, and you can see I'm a pretty aggressive wrestler. I'm on the offense. I'm trying to score. And as you know, I'm hard to take down. I got great defense. I think that I think my match and Arman's match, I think the match between me and Arman is going to be one of the most hype matches that RAF has ever seen. I think it is the most hype match that RAF has produced. I think that it's the match all the fans want to see, and I'm here to give the fans that show. At the end of the day, I'm here to wrestle, man. That's what I do. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be competing full time like this again, but in the back of my head, I did always know that wrestling was gonna be my entire life. But here we are, 4 or 5 years later, and I'm back in action full time, training every day. And anybody that's been on the mat with me that wrestles, they know how good I am. You know, there's a lot of controversy on the internet. Oh, this kid's just a social media wrestler. He doesn't wrestle anybody good. Go scroll through those videos. Tell me I didn't wrestle anybody good. There's a lot of high-end individual wrestlers on there that are really good that could not take me down. And I'm training every day with some of the best in the world right now. I'm here to showcase my skills, and I'm excited. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I know Arman is a great wrestler. I know he's a great athlete, and that just makes me want it 10 times more. I don't feel like I have anything to prove to myself. I think a lot of the world feels like I have something to prove, but if you know my accolades and you've ever stepped with me on the mat, you know how good I really am.
Giorgio, out of all your takedowns, I would say, your double leg's pretty good, but the first trip that you hit on Mugsy, where you kind of had a higher, with your arm higher on the torso, moving to the side and whipping the leg at the same time. What move was that? That's probably, I would say, that's one of the best takedowns I've seen from your career so far.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's the difference. A lot of times when I'm doing my take me down challenge, I don't go as hard as I can on these guys. And I think that is the first match where I went hard because it was a real match. And so I'm able to go full tilt, full throttle. When I do these challenges, I'm not necessarily going full throttle. These are just for fun. These are just, to get views, promote the sport. And when you see me full throttle, that's what my moves look like. That's what things look like. I go after it and I score. But that was just an ankle pick, That's the move Mugsy's famous for, his ankle pick. And I hit him with his own move. I hit him with a nice little ankle pick, and then I rolled him a couple times. And yeah, man, it's just there's a difference between my challenges online and me when it's actually a real match. There's a huge difference. When I'm in a real match, I'm fucking go, baby. I'm go. I'm 100%. Like, I'm giving it all. In these challenges, I'm not doing that. I'm not slamming these guys' heads. I'm not going full throttle, you know what I mean? I'm playing more nice, more fragile, just hitting my moves. And you see that as my best takedown because it's the hardest anybody's seen me wrestle since I posted content. I don't go crazy hard to kill these guys. I'm more gentle. I'm soft. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to have fun and promote the sport.
Giorgio, what was your total wrestling career record? College, amateur, everything involved. What is your record?
To be honest with you, I don't know my record. I know my junior year, I had two losses at actually this tournament right here, Ironman. I wrestled one of the guys that I lost to at that tournament later on in the year and beat him. And this tournament was early on, so I had two losses there, and then I went undefeated the rest of the year, and then I went back next year and won the tournament, which this is the toughest high school tournament in the country, Ironman. So I went undefeated for a couple years, and then yeah, man, I can't put a number on my record just because I honestly don't know it. But a lot of wins and very few losses, I can tell you that.
How many matches do you reckon you performed in? 60, 70?
I mean, are we talking career time? I mean, I've
Yeah.
wrestled, oh man, thousands. I mean, I've been wrestling since kindergarten. I had well over 100 wins just in high school. But I would travel year round. I wrestled all year round. I mean, I have over 1,000 matches in experience, if you ask me.
I wanted to ask you, we've talking about all this RAF stuff, and I just saw that they signed Sudalayev. So, can you give me your opinion on such a legend, an Olympic gold medalist signing to this promotion, kind of legitimizing the whole thing?
I think you're going to be really shocked by this answer, but I almost don't even want to say it. But I don't know who that is. One thing about me that I'll tell you is I never watched wrestling. Like, I always wrestled. I never watched wrestling. I never watched college wrestling. I never watched the Olympics. I I never watched wrestling, and that was one thing about me is like I didn't care who I was going against. I didn't care if this guy was ranked number one in the nation or this guy did that or that. I didn't want to know. I didn't care. It didn't bother me. The only thing I knew is that guy didn't wrestle me yet. That's how I went about all of my matches. I was an underdog for the majority of time, and I beat kids over and over and over and over again that I wasn't supposed to beat. And then, somebody would come up to me like, "Oh, you just beat the number one ranked kid in the nation." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" Like, I had no idea. And I don't care to know. All I know is at the end of the day, that person hadn't wrestled me. whatever they're ranked or wherever that's at or whatnot, that's all somebody's opinion. That's all somebody's opinion behind a computer screen, on a piece of paper. It's all somebody's opinion. And that doesn't matter to me. I don't care about rankings. I don't care about somebody's opinion. If they haven't wrestled me, they haven't wrestled me. And that's that. So I never watched college wrestling growing up. Like, I didn't know who these guys were. Half the guys in RAF, I don't know who they are. I'm sitting right next to them. But if their name wasn't being announced or they didn't have or weren't at signings with me and I didn't meet them in person, I wouldn't know who half these guys are.
Giorgio, who do you think is the best wrestler that you've wrestled in your life?
That's a good question, man. That's a good question. Uh, you know, I really I don't know, man. I'd say the answer to that is myself. I think you could be your own toughest match. And so I think that's something that you have to be able to beat. You have to be able to beat yourself. I think that's a lot of people beat themselves sometimes. Um, and you got to know how to overcome that. So crazy, man. You gotta be in the right mental space. You gotta cut weight the right way. You gotta eat right. You gotta train right. You gotta recover right. Uh, and it's hard for a lot of people to do all those steps right. It takes a lot of discipline. It really does.
That's all we have time for, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Giorgio, again for your time. Is there any final remarks you want to say to everybody listening at home before you take on Tsarukyan in this freestyle match?
Yeah, guys, I mean, believe in yourself. You got to take chances. You got to take risks. If you're not taking risks in life, you're not getting anywhere. Go big or go home. To everybody watching, I want you to know that I appreciate your guys' support. I want you to know that I believe in myself. I want you guys to know that I train to win, and I'm working hard for this. I'm excited for this match, and I'm ready to put on a show for you guys. So, February 28th, showdown's going down, baby. One more thing, keep your faith in God, keep your head up no matter what you're going through. Tomorrow's always a new day, and keep moving forward.
Follow Giorgio on Instagram, link in the description. Follow Anything Combat and become a combatant. We'll see you guys next time.